Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here with you. And normally I'm putting out a very long video. It's usually based on research or education. But I wanted to start a new series of videos and just make these very fast little tips. Because I know there's a lot to go into trading, and I could talk about this for hours, and sometimes I do get a little winded on the videos. So these I want to try to make a little bit more direct and basically just little educational snippets, trading tips. And it'll be called DayTraderRockStar's Trading Tips. So the first one I'm going to start off with is just what is on my chart, the indicators that you should have on your chart when you're trading the markets, or at least tracking the markets. You might be trading the markets, trading the ES, which I like to do, trading the futures, or you might just be watching the markets or an individual stock. The lines that you see on the chart, other than the candlesticks, are all measurements of different, reactions of the market, and they're indicators. And we're going to discuss those right now in a fast way. I'm not going to break them down too much. I'm going to just kind of go over them and just get started with that. So first of all, always have the moving averages on the chart. Have the 20, 50, and the EMA. The 20 I always keep green, the 50 I always keep blue, and the 200 I always keep red. And that's we use these moving averages on some of the techniques, like a 2020 type of flag. A lot of people watch the crossover trades, the 2050 crossover, the 5200 crossover, etc. So I keep it on there. It's also good to measure the trend, see how strong the trend is if it continues to hold off of that 20. And you can pretty much adjust these to the 23 or 17. Everyone has a different level they like to watch. These are my standard ones, so I like doing the standard. So that's the squiggly lines. The other lines, we're going to start off there with these lines that are horizontal lines. Now, there's a few horizontal lines. One of them are one of the sets are called pivot points, and pivot points are calculations, a calculation of the previous day high, low, opening and closing price. It's put into a formula, and it spits out these lines. And basically, these lines are used for support and resistance, and some just bias in the market. So the main pivot basically is the main plus minus or bullish bearish line in the market. If you're trading above the pivot, things tend to be more bullish versus underneath the pivot. Then you have the support one underneath us, and you have a resistance one above us. And again, those lines are calculated out. And the truth is, I like having the pivot on there. Just give me but I don't really trade off of it. As you can see here, it actually bounced off of pretty good. But typically I don't trade the pivots too much. What I do trade are my own individual trend lines, which a lot of these lines you'll see. This trend line that comes down here, connecting the pivot areas, going out long time. Areas of support and resistance that I might mark out and then I extend for future reference. But the big slanted trend lines are the ones, like we're coming up to one right now. That becomes an interesting level for me. And I think everyone has to work on those trend lines, understand how to do a trend line. And that'll be a tip, I'm sure. But I already have videos on, a good course on basics of trading. If you want to look at that, it's at theschoolofstock.com. Theschoolofstock.com. A little plug for that. I have the whole methodology. It's all mapped out for you. So the pivots, the other settled things, opening price, closing price, yes, previous highs, previous lows, etc. And I like these a lot. These are very good support and resistance lines. Of course, the low and high of the day is important, which we're at the high right now. But previous close is very important too, and the previous low is very important, as is the previous high. That's what really makes a trending market: higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs, So when you start to hit those, it's important to see those levels: the previous high, previous close. They all play a part in trading. All right, here is the VWAP. The VWAP is the volume price average. It's what the average. How do I explain it? Yeah, it's the average where the price has been trading. Most of the day from when this started. It starts each day, it resets. So and we tend to see the market here resolve to that line. It always comes back to the average. It could get a little extended, but it eventually comes back. We watch the VWAP a lot. Out of all the squiggly lines on the chart, moving averages, I think the VWAP is the best. And that is one of the, I've never really had this on my chart until a couple years ago, because I'm more of a divergence and a stochastic trader. But seeing the importance of how well this works, I keep it on there and I refer to it all the time, and I would trade off of it too. Anytime that VWAP gets hit with another indicator or a trend line, and they both line up, I love that as an area to trade from. And then on the bottom here, you have your volume chart, and it's good to have. And then your stochastics. Now I have my stochastics lined up this way. I love trading this way. This is a fast 9-3, a 14-3, a 44, and a 60-10. And all of them are used in combination with each other. A lot of them are used in relation with patterns that play out. Wedge patterns, divergences, but this is where all the beauty happens down here. So I wait to see, the setups that we're looking for set up. Almost had a little divergence over here, but being on the site and stuff, everyone knows exactly what we trade here. Here was almost a double top divergence here, a nice little roll over there, a nice pullback. We're up at a level right now. It almost looks like a kind of a 5-minute, but the market's showing some strength. But we're not going to digress from the topic here. So again, these are important: the 9-3, 14-3, 44, and 60-10. I'm not going to go into how I use those, but that's what's on the screen. So if you wanted to kind of replicate the screen I have right now, that's basically the indicators. Anything else I missed that might look typical of the trend lines I put in there. Markets are pushing right now up to the previous close, I believe that is. Previous close and at the new highs. I will leave that. That is our first edition of DayTraderRockStar's trading tips. I hope you enjoyed that. And look for more of them in the future. I'll try to keep them real under 5 minutes. This is kind of long, 7 minutes, but it's the first one. And please go check out theschoolofstock.com if you want to get more education on a more advanced level.